the lead counsel for her office's investigation into possible criminal disruptions that occurred back during the 2020 election. So they're missing all of Nathan Wade. This was the guy who's so dumb he couldn't remember his cell phone password, and he just kept entering it in there. I'm so dumb. I'm Andrew Weissman. I can't remember a 4-digit code. Oh, the phone deletes everything. Interesting.
Donald Trump created an entire, criminal investigation that John Durham ran that went after me and others. It didn't indict me. It did indict others who got acquitted, but he has threatened essentially to bring that back.
Back in Fani land, she's been ordered by the court to turn over some records. And she really doesn't want to turn over those records because there were a lot of them. We know thousands of text messages, maybe photos, voicemails, videos, and a bunch of other things back and forth, including messages and questions about what she was doing with Nathan Wade, her lover, who she hired and then paid $700,000 for, and then had 2-hour lunch work meetings, and then shared residences and lied about all of it, committed perjury, didn't declare all sorts of expenditures. The list goes on and on, we recall. But we have questions about what she was doing, who she was talking to, was she colluding with the Biden administration to indict Trump and go after him, and how deep does this go? So our friends over at Judicial Watch, including Tom Fitton, you know who he is, they say, we announced that a Georgia state court has now ordered Fani to give us some new information related to the Trump records, because she sent in an affidavit, right? She says, well, I have no records. But the problem with her response is that she doesn't mention, did she search certain devices? Did she look at Nathan Wade's device or not? Did she look at Michael Hill's device? So Judicial Watch issued a lawsuit. They sued, and the court order was issued after Judicial Watch sued. And they awarded $21,000 to Judicial Watch for attorney's fees, baby. Shout out. The new court order came down, and let's take a look at it now. Here is what we got from Fani land. Judicial Watch versus Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in all of Georgia. Fani is now ordered to comply. Here's the background. 2 years ago, Judicial Watch submitted an open records request to Fani. They wanted all documents and communications sent to or related to Jack Smith, the illegitimate prosecutor, who's freaked out. All documents and communications also sent over to the January 6th Select Committee, also filled with criminals. However, they were pardoned. The defendant, Fani, initially claimed to have no responsive records. I don't know what you're talking about. Nathan Wade? Nathan who? Doubting this for the very good reason that it already had a responsive document in its possession, they sued. Judicial Watch says, we know you have records because we have a copy of one of them. They sued, and they have since secured a default judgment against Fani. Okay, so Fani basically lost by default because she wasn't providing materials, wasn't responding. And the court says it turns out she does have responsive records. Fani busted. On March 7, 2025, after hearing about the desultory efforts to determine the full universe of responsive information, this court ordered Fani, all right, Fani Willis, you get your Fani in here and you produce for in-camera review the records that we want to see. After repeated denials of their existence, but which were being withheld on the basis of being exempt from disclosure, so the court is like calling her out on that. She says, oh, well, I actually do have records, says Fani, because she's a liar, which were being withheld because there's other laws that say we can just withhold them. But she said they didn't exist. Okay, it's different. They exist, but you're not entitled to them is different than they do not exist. So what happened is Fani then complied with the March order. She gave the court an affidavit from her lawyer, and the lawyer summarized the steps that they took. They said, we did an actual, meaningful search of the information. And they also gave a digital storage device back over to the court, and that device contained 212 pages of search protocols, emails, text messages, and written correspondence. So Fani delivered some materials over. The court has since reviewed these materials and concurs with Fani. At this point, given that the criminal case related to these materials remains open, but even if not particularly active, like the cases are open, a lot of it's on appeal. Fani says, I want to stay on the case, or we'll see what the court says. Specifically, the court finds that the documents are records of law enforcement and their records. So she did turn over some things, but Fani's work is not done yet, however, says this judge. So thanks for complying a little bit. But in reviewing these materials, in particular, the search protocols prepared by each of the defendants whose records and devices were reviewed, the court notices you're missing some things, Fani, saying saying this: there was no search protocol produced for or by the investigator called Michael L. Hill. Michael L. Hill indicating what accounts, devices were searched for and for what terms were they. It is also unclear if anyone consulted with Nathan Wade, Nathan's hot dogger lover, who is now employed elsewhere, but who at all relevant times was, among other things, the lead counsel for her office's investigation into possible criminal disruptions that occurred back during the 2020 election. So they're missing all of Nathan Wade. If anyone consulted with Nathan at all, no one even checked. It's like, he's pretty critical. He's the other half of the, the mama jama, the hibbity dibbity. Like, it takes two to have a hibbity dibbity. You can't have only one. So we need to know. And he was the special prosecutor, okay? He's pretty important to the entire investigation. She appointed him to lead it. Nobody talked to the investigator. Nobody consulted Nathan Wade. Her office is a joke. We've already known that, but it's like, what the heck? Like, I can't even believe these judges are just like, kind of nonchalant about it. So they say, while legal counsel's affidavit avers that defendant's own records were searched, like Fani's like, well, I searched my text messages, the responsive materials do not include the search protocol that was used to do so, nor the scope of the search described. Okay, so Fani then just searches for like Smith, goes in her email, says Smith. I'm like, well, you got a, blacksmith, John Smith is not Jack Smith, Ironsmith. Okay, goes through, but nothing responds, and that's it. They say, well, what did you search for, Fani? Give us some details on this. And so consequently, Fani gets an order, okay? Within 14 days of this order, Big Fani, you shall submit to the court the search protocols, the search terms used, and the data sources searched for Hill, the lead investigator, and we want clarification. Did you search Nathan Wade, your hot dog lover's materials or not? If they were not, they shall be, okay? Go get his records. Those are long gone. Those were deleted a long time ago. And any responsive records forwarded to the court. If they already were, then the same requirement of supplying the search protocol applies. Like, you can't just say I did a search and then give us nothing. Any additional materials that are generated by this effort will be received in camera to the judge only and will remain in camera pending an analysis similar to the one the court performed on the first set of submitted materials. All records, make sure they're labeled. This court will view these materials, and if any of these materials are disclosable, like if the public can read them, we're going to notify Fani so that she may file a justification for the redactions. Any such pleadings will be filed under seal and shall be submitted pursuant to the March order clarifying what Fani must do, from Judge Robert C.I. McBurney. And this looks like it's a prior affidavit that they submitted. Hey, my name is Andrea Olaby, and that is the person who says, hey, I did the search and I found everything, and I searched a couple people here, a couple people at Fani's office. We've submitted a couple things to you, and based on my review, we've done our job, right? So they say not good enough. So go back, give it a second attempt, and get us those records. Now, Fani Willis was part of a multi-pronged effort to try to take out the Democrats' political opponent, President Trump, and anybody who supported him. And they launched a series of investigations. Okay, this is Andrew Weissman. You remember him. He was part of the Mueller team, and this was the guy who's so dumb he couldn't remember his cell phone password, and he just kept entering it in there. I'm so dumb. I'm Andrew Weissman. I can't remember a 4-digit code. Oh, the phone deletes everything. Interesting. And then that same thing happened to a bunch of other people on the Mueller investigation because they were corrupt. They were leaking information to the media, and they were trying to ensnare and prosecute people illegally and illegitimately. And now look at his sour scowl. Man, you're busted, boy. You can see it on his face. Mark Elias. These two look like they're having a rough time out there, for sure. And so let's listen in on them about how freaked out they are.
MSNBC political analyst Kim Atkins-Storr is here. Mark Elias, I'm going to start with you because you've been attacked by Donald Trump in a speech he delivered at the Department of Justice. Do you feel the way Miles Taylor feels, that it could happen to you?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, I was Hillary Clinton's general counsel in 2016.
She's getting indicted too.
And for the privilege, and it was a genuine privilege of representing Secretary Clinton, Donald Trump created an entire, criminal investigation that John Durham ran that went after me and others. It didn't indict me. It did indict others who got acquitted, but he has threatened essentially to bring that back. In 2020, I represented Joe Biden and the Democratic Party in defeating Donald Trump more than 60 times in court.
Yeah, and we covered a lot of those lawsuits. That's the update on Fani Land. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on this one. She better get those records over immediately, and hopefully the court publishes them so that we can read them and see how disgusting they are. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.